Welcome to my YouTube channel. Join me as we explore the fascinating world of the U.S. Navy. Hello! Hi!
In the early morning hours, deep in the heart of the South China Sea, the ocean is no longer a familiar expanse of blue. It has transformed into a wall of black water, each wave rising like a liquid skyscraper ready to crush anything in its path. In the middle of this chaos, a U.S. Navy destroyer, 9,000 tons of steel and firepower, fights not against an enemy fleet, but against nature itself. The night sky offers no horizon. Clouds smother the moon, lightning flares only for a heartbeat, and then vanishes, leaving the sea and sky welded into one endless void. On the bridge, every sailor's eyes are fixed forward as the bow climbs higher and higher, the ship groaning under the strain. Gravity seizes hold, dragging the destroyer down into the trough with a thunderclap that echoes through its steel bones. This is no passing squall. This is a full-force tropical storm, the kind that shreds fishing fleets and buries cargo ships. Each wave piles atop the next, darker and heavier, until the sea itself feels alive, hammering the destroyer with relentless force. Spray blasts sideways across the deck, driven by winds so violent they scream through every gap in the superstructure. Outside, there is no difference between ocean and sky, only blackness broken by brief flashes of electric light. Every slam is a reminder that here, technology and weaponry mean nothing. Missiles, radar, and computers cannot tame the storm. Out here, the only enemy is the ocean itself, and the ocean plays by no one's rules. Tonight, this crew faces a truth every sailor learns on their first deployment. War may be predictable, but the sea never is. Each time the destroyer's bow slams into the face of a wave, the entire vessel shudders as if 9,000 tons of steel were being lifted and hurled back down by some colossal hand. The sound is not merely noise, it is violence made audible. A booming crack reverberates through the hull, rolling from the forward bulkheads down into the deepest compartments. Naval engineers have a name for this: slamming pressure. The sudden impact force of thousands of tons of seawater striking steel in less than a heartbeat. For the sailors, it feels like a giant fist pounding the ship again and again, daring it to hold together. Spray lashes sideways across the deck, shredded into needles by the gale. The storm howls through every seam in the superstructure, a sound halfway between a scream and a whistle rising and falling with each gust. From the bridge windows, there is no horizon, only shifting walls of water, black on black, broken now and then by a bolt of lightning that silhouettes the destroyer before plunging it back into darkness. High on the mast, the ship's electronic eyes falter. The SPY-1 radar, designed to track hundreds of aircraft and missiles at once, washes out under the sheets of salt water and the static of electrical interference. Navigation radars flicker, screens blur with false echoes, and for fleeting moments the ship is effectively blind in the storm's heart. Technology, normally a shield of certainty, becomes fragile under nature's assault. Below decks, the pounding translates into vibrations that shake lockers, rattle bunks, and send utensils clattering in the mess. Every slam feels like an earthquake coursing through steel. It is more than noise. It is the ship's structure being tested, its strength measured with every collision. And this is the truth the storm hammers into every sailor. Missiles, radars, and sensors may dominate in combat, but they mean nothing against the sea. No circuit can outlast salt water. No computer can calculate the chaos of a storm. Out here, power belongs not to technology, but to the elements themselves. For the crew, the message is as sharp as the wind tearing across the deck. The ocean has no respect for machines. Every surge that breaks over the bow becomes a river racing aft, slamming against hatches, railings, and equipment with a force that feels unrelenting. The destroyer's deck, designed for combat operations, has turned into a temporary waterway. Seawater streams across the steel plates, searching for any weakness, any path below. Along the sides, scuppers, the drainage holes cut into the deck, spout water like fountains fighting to keep up. For sailors, those drains are lifelines. If they clog, even for a few minutes, water begins to pool topside, and that danger is invisible to the untrained eye. When too much weight collects above the center of gravity, the ship becomes vulnerable to rolling. It's not just about getting wet, it's about physics. A destroyer is built to ride the waves head-on, but water massing on deck shifts the balance of stability. Imagine a pendulum. The lower the weight, the steadier the swing. Raise that weight and every roll grows wilder. It is the same with ships. If the sea adds too much weight above, each tilt can become sharper, more violent, until even a giant of 9,000 tons flirts with capsizing. That is why, even in the chaos of the storm, sailors scramble onto the slick steel tethered by safety lines to clear blockages. A single rag, rope, or piece of debris jammed in a scupper could tilt the balance toward disaster. Out here, discipline means survival, because one mistake can undo everything. Inside the hull, the pressure is different. The water pounding the bow transmits through bulkheads as vibrations that shake the compartments like drumskins. The sound is everywhere, a reminder that seawater is trying to claw its way inside. Watertight doors groan, seals strain, and every slam feels like a test of whether steel and sweat can hold back the ocean. For the crew, it becomes clear. The storm is not just attacking from outside, it is probing, looking for a way in. And they know with certainty that once the sea finds an opening, it will never stop pushing. Below decks, the storm feels less like wind and rain and more like an earthquake that never ends. Passageways echo with the groan of steel and the thunder of unsecured gear crashing against bulkheads. Sailors move carefully, clipped to safety lines, one hand always trailing along the wall. Every step must be timed with the roll of the ship, as if the very floor were conspiring to throw them off balance. In the berthing compartments, sleep is a word stripped of meaning. Each bunk is a steel frame with a taut canvas sling, stacked 3 high. In calm seas, they sway gently like hammocks. Tonight, they whip from side to side, hard enough to throw a body onto the deck. Sailors strap themselves in with webbing belts, holding on as if riding a roller coaster in the dark. Every crash of the bow against the waves shakes the racks violently, rattling lockers, sending vibrations through the air ducts and pipes. Rest is not rest, it is endurance. The mess deck tells a similar story. Plates and mugs are useless, they would become projectiles at the first roll. Instead, meals are stripped down to storm rations, sandwiches, packaged snacks, and hot coffee poured into squeeze bottles instead of cups. Sailors eat standing, backs pressed to the bulkhead, one hand gripping their food, the other gripping the ship itself. Eating is no longer routine, it is survival. Yet even amid this chaos, discipline does not waver. Cooks still prepare what they can. Damage control teams stand by with helmets and flash gear, their kits strapped across their shoulders. They drill endlessly for fire, flooding, and hull breaches, but no drill ever matches the sheer difficulty of working in a storm where just walking a straight line feels impossible. The ship is alive with sound, metal bending, waves pounding, alarms chirping, the constant rush of water across the deck. To the outside world, this destroyer is a warship bristling with missiles and radars. But to the men and women inside, in this moment, it is something far more basic, a lifeboat of steel. Here, survival is not about victory. It is about endurance, trust, and holding fast until the ocean relents. On the bridge, the world shrinks to glowing instruments and the endless roar outside. The lights are red, dim enough to preserve night vision, but bright enough to read dials. The captain stands firm at the center, one hand gripping the rail, the other near the engine telegraph. His voice is calm, deliberate, sharp enough to cut through the storm's chaos. Hold her steady, bow into the wave, reduce 5 knots. Each order is repeated back instantly, word for word, without hesitation. It is more than procedure, it is survival. In conditions like these, delay is lethal. A wrong command or a sluggish response can tilt a 9,000-ton destroyer broadside into the waves, and once that happens, gravity will do the rest. The helmsman fights the wheel with both hands. Each time the bow lifts, the rudder goes sluggish, almost powerless, until the stern digs back into the sea. Corrections must be small, precise, deliberate. Overcorrect, and the ship could yaw sideways. Undercorrect, and the wave will seize control. Balance is everything, and every sailor on the bridge feels the weight of that truth with each roll. Alarms chirp sporadically. Electronics overloading, sensors blinded by salt spray, circuits shorting under vibration. The officers of the watch mute unnecessary alerts, their focus locked on the essentials. There is no room for distraction. The storm itself is loud enough. Here, leadership is more than giving orders. It is setting the rhythm of survival. The captain's composure ripples outward, steadying the hands and hearts of the crew. Each sailor trusts the one beside him, forming a chain of discipline that stretches from the lowest deckhand to the officer in command. Out here, hesitation is the true enemy. And on this bridge, discipline is the weapon that keeps steel upright against the sea. The storm itself is chaos enough, but in the back of every sailor's mind lurks a darker possibility: the rogue wave. Unlike the rolling rhythm of storm seas, a rogue is a monster born of randomness, a vertical wall of water rising without warning, striking with the force of a collapsing building. In normal conditions, waves stack to 30 feet. That alone can bury small vessels and cripple freighters. But a rogue doubles that height, sometimes reaching 60 to 80 feet, the size of an 8-story building made entirely of water. These waves don't crest gracefully, they stand upright, a vertical assault that can tear steel apart. For centuries, mariners whispered about them, dismissing the stories as superstition or sailors' exaggeration. Then, in 1995, the Draupner oil platform in the North Sea recorded a single wave, over 80 feet high, towering above the storm around it. That moment confirmed what sailors had always feared: rogue waves are real, and they are killers. For a destroyer, the threat is just as deadly. Head on, the bow might crash down with such violence that welds crack, hatches buckle, and heavy equipment rips free. From the side, the risk is even worse. If 9,000 tons of steel are rolled too far past 30 degrees, the ship crosses a line no captain ever wants to test. Gravity finishes what the wave begins. Capsizing becomes inevitable. What makes rogues so terrifying is their suddenness. Storm seas at least follow a rhythm. A lookout can time the roll, count the seconds between peaks. But rogues do not follow rules. They appear like ghosts, no radar alarm, no warning. By the time the watch spots it, the ship is already climbing its sheer face or bracing for the crash. Every sailor knows the stories. Merchant ships swallowed whole. Naval vessels battered beyond repair. Tankers limping home twisted and broken. Tonight, in the South China Sea, with storm waves already rising like skyscrapers, the unspoken question hangs heavy. What if a rogue appears here? The ocean offers no guarantees. Gyroscopic stabilizers, reinforced hulls, advanced radar, all the marvels of engineering mean little against a wall of liquid steel rising out of nowhere. In a storm like this, seamanship is the only defense. Bow into the seas, throttle balanced, crew disciplined. One error at the helm, one hesitation on the throttle, and the sea will claim the destroyer without leaving a trace. It is not a thought spoken aloud, but every sailor feels it, carried in the tension of the ship as she claws her way up wave after wave. The rogue is out there, waiting, amid the storm's chaos. What keeps the destroyer alive is not only steel or engineering, it is the crew. Each sailor becomes a link in a chain, bound together by discipline and trust. The ocean doesn't respect technology, but it does respect endurance, and endurance is born from people. In the passageways, sailors clip their safety lines and move in rhythm, each one trusting the next. On the bridge, officers echo the captain's orders with precision. In the engine rooms, technicians monitor gauges with unflinching focus. The chain stretches from the lowest-ranking seaman to the commanding officer, each link vital. Break one, and the entire vessel is at risk. Teamwork turns fear into action. No one pretends the storm is less terrifying than it is, but fear has no place in survival. Instead, it becomes fuel, channeled into clearing drains, securing hatches, reinforcing watertight doors. Everyone has a task, and everyone knows that hesitation costs more than courage. In this moment, the destroyer is not a war machine. Its missiles, radars, and guns mean nothing to the sea. Instead, it becomes a lifeboat of steel, carrying hundreds of souls who depend on one another. War trains sailors to fight enemies they can see. Storms remind them of the invisible enemy that never surrenders, nature itself. The lesson is clear, though unspoken. Survival is not about defeating the ocean, it is about outlasting it. And as long as the crew stands together, link by link, order by order, they transform chaos into endurance. The storm does not end with a single moment of relief. There is no sudden silence, no clear signal of survival. Instead, it fades gradually, waves stretching longer, the wind scream softening to a steady howl, the black horizon finally parting to reveal a faint line of dawn. The destroyer has endured. Its decks are battered, its steel bent in places, its crew drained and hollow-eyed. Yet it still floats, engines still humming, radar still blinking back to life. On the bridge, the captain gazes across calmer seas, knowing the battle was never won, it was simply survived. For the sailors, the lesson is burned into memory. War can be prepared for, but the sea cannot. Technology may falter, steel may groan, but discipline and unity can hold a ship together when nothing else will. Tonight, the enemy was not another navy, not a missile, not a submarine. It was the ocean itself. And the ocean does not play by anyone's rules. Every storm becomes a story, and every story a warning. The sea demands respect because it punishes arrogance without mercy. Out here, survival is not guaranteed. A rogue wave may rise tomorrow, unseen and unstoppable. But tonight, this destroyer and her crew have endured, and endurance is its own kind of victory. For those who serve at sea, one truth remains eternal. It is not the waves you see that will sink you. It is the one that comes when you least expect it.